Good Monday evening. That's right, Monday, and it's not MattyB, it's Big Al. What's going on? MattyB is a little under the weather. MattyB is in need of some medicine, and I am that medicine. I am the truth serum of the It's a Rap Sports Network here. We need to talk about a lot of things, the conversation that has been had, that I've had now since Friday evening, Sunday morning, and now Monday night, and I want to continue to have, because it has gotten to a point in this industry, if you want to call it that, that hot takes and building fires and smoke where there isn't any, or not saying where there isn't any, but building mountains out of molehills, we'll call it that, has gotten to a point that you can't turn on the dial without hearing some ridiculousness. So we will be talking about that tonight. We're going to talk about Vic Fangio. We're going to talk about the Eagles. We're going to talk about their new OC, their new passing game coordinator. But definitely the Vic Fangio is going to be a conversation. We're going to talk some Sixers. We're going to talk the Paul George suspension. We're going to talk about how Embiid got a little, people use the term snub. I don't think it was snubbed, but we'll get into that. The Flyers continue to not fly, sink. They're the sinkers. They're even the stinkers, if you want to call it that. And baseball is right around the corner, which excites me, but there's caveats. And we're going to get into that. And I'm trying to dull my expectations for baseball. But at the same time, I can't help myself with just this warm feeling that I get once I start seeing baseball, Phillies baseball on the TV. I know I'm not the only one, and we're going to talk about that, talk about expectations. Is there expectations? Where are they? Where do you rank like the four Philly sports teams, of like how far away they are now with all the ongoings and the BS that's being spewed about the teams, especially the Eagles with Joe and Hurts and the new OCs and what to expect. And maybe that's our problem. Maybe expectations are the problem, but we are, as fans, supposed to have expectations, as rightfully so. The money that's spent, the time that's spent, the conversations that are had, expectations are supposed to happen. They're supposed to be had. So I'm not saying they're wrong to have, but maybe just it's our expectations that drive the drama force known as the Philly sports media, because that's what it is. I mean, it's drama. And in this world, this day and age, everybody loves drama. Let's just call it for what it's worth. And again, it's drama that isn't, as long as you're not involved, you from the outside looking in, the world loves drama, right? And that's what it has become. And it really has me second guessing some people that in this industry that I grew up listening to, that I watch now and I listen to now and I follow now on social media. It makes me wonder credibility a little bit. We will be talking a little bit about credibility as well. And rather being right, or rather have a hot take than look at the whole story and be right, because it's not dramatic enough. It's not full of tension and drama. Listen, why wouldn't people love that? Look at the movies we watch, the Netflix series, the Hulu series, the HBO Max series, all those series that people watch are just full of drama. But it's one thing in fiction on TV, having action pack. I always used to tell my kids, like, there's a big difference between TV and reality, even big difference between reality and reality TV. I said in a movie, in Home Alone, I take Home Alone as the example. It's funny, all the stuff that happened to the robbers in Home Alone, but in real life, not as much. Not funny at all. So that, that's your big difference. And that's the conversation to be had tonight. But let's talk about Vic Fangio. And for those who are joining me, thank you. I know I'm not MattyB, I'm Big Al. MattyB is under the weather and asked me to step in so the show can go on, and the show will go on. This time it'll be more realistic, okay? It'll be a conversation to be had, to look at things, as Matty says, I like to try to draw things down the middle, but at the same time, he'll tell you, I'm a homer, or I have Homer-esque qualities, or whatever it is you want to say. But it's not Homer. It's just looking at things where I I just think things are started up that are unnecessary. But I also don't think sometimes there's things that are missed or overlooked for what it's worth. And the Vic Fangio, I think, is one of those major conversations that we're going to have and that fall into that. So a couple things. I won't have all the normal segments that MattyB has generally because I wasn't able to prepare for them. But I will open the phone lines tonight. That is correct. You heard me correctly. I know a lot of you have been asking me to do it on a Friday night or even a Sunday morning with Mike Lauro. But tonight, since it's MattyB's show, I will follow MattyB's format. And at one point, once we start getting the comments flowing through here, I am going to open up the phone lines. And what I mean by the phone lines, I'll put a link. I'll let you pop it on the bottom. I have my rules. I will put up just your audio if you want to. You don't have to have your face up on here. So if you're like, just don't turn your camera on. I will just put the audio up and then we will talk and you just see me and I'll hear you. And we will do that at one point. So once everybody starts joining in, I will start. I will open up the phone lines. But let's talk about Vic Fangio. So, as everybody knows, he in 2 years, Vic Fangio has been very successful with the Philadelphia Eagles. First year, he was a consultant in 2022, if you want to count that. But in his first year as the DC, he has led and successfully orchestrated a Super Bowl win because that defense was a major part of the Eagles' Super Bowl victory in 2024. And he was at the helm, and he gets all the credit for that. He should get all the credit for that. This last season, despite the ups and downs of this team, the defense was pretty stalwart and has pretty much kept that team from probably losing more games than they could have. Than they did. They should have lost some more maybe. And the defense at times was their saving grace. I mean, I go back and it was a game that most of us want to kind of put out of our brains. But I go back to the Chargers game. Offense, 5 turnovers, 2 in the same play, and they still had to take us to OT, even though the offense wasn't scoring because of the defense. So Vic Fangio, huge part. Can't take it away. So apparently they had to discuss with him last year to stay on his first really full year here. Well, no, I guess he was hired in January 2024. So yeah, they apparently the rumors are that he had to be coaxed to stay here or come here or whatever it was, and then he had to be he had to be coaxed to stay this year, and now they saying he needs to be coaxed to stay for 2026. He's 68 years old. Okay. I know a lot of people are trying to make up the stories, and I'm not saying it's not true, but again, no sources. It's just people's thoughts. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having the thought that maybe the disgruntled, the dysfunctional part of the Eagles this year rubbed him the wrong way, and it's very possible. But he's 67, going to be 68 before the next season starts. So the man has coached football for decades. All right, so maybe he got his ring and he's ready to move on and just be happy. And maybe part of it is, the turnover again on the offense and his defense keeping this team viable for the playoffs. Maybe he just doesn't want to deal with that anymore. Maybe he doesn't want to have to go through it anymore. Maybe he just wants to retire. But end all be all, I have kind of a thought process here. Let me just start this off. Nobody wanted Vic Fangio here more than I have. I've been clamoring for Vic Fangio for years before Jonathan Gannon, because all we heard about is this guy's a Vic Fangio disciple. This guy's a Vic Fangio disciple. I wanted Vic Fangio. I didn't want Vic Fangio light. I wanted the real deal. I wanted the mega Vic Fangio. That's what I want, and that's what I wanted. So we finally got him. He left Miami, and then he came here. Like I said, he was a consultant in 2022, helping the Eagles defense, ultimately, which we didn't win, and the defense didn't do too hot then. But then, he stayed in Miami for the next year, and then the 2024, between 23 and 24, he came here. he had the despite the losing several starters, and we even saw guys retire, maybe due to mental health or whatever reasons, get traded for and then go into retirement or take a hiatus or whatever you want to call it. Was it Vic's fault? Was it the defense's fault? Was there a locker room issue? Possibly. Was it all Nick Sirianni? Possibly. I have to wonder. And maybe because Nick Sirianni is a year out off a Super Bowl win, that people don't that bought him pretty much a bulletproof vest for losing his job this year. But if it came down to replacing Nick Sirianni or replacing Vic Fangio, I think the Eagles would pick Vic Fangio or would keep Fangio and let Sirianni go. Personally. But then again, he has the clout for what he's done in his 5 years here. So I think that makes that difficult. I think he's also almost 68 years old, and maybe he's ready he got his Super Bowl, he hit his culmination, and maybe he just doesn't want to deal with it no more. Maybe he just wants to retire at 68 years old, which makes sense. I mean, he's only a couple of years younger than my parents. My parents have been long retired. So maybe it's just normal human nature. Maybe he wants to enjoy the Phillies. I mean, he loves talking about the Phillies. Maybe it's just time that nature took his course and he doesn't want to be here. With that being said, and for all those that are joining me, by the way, I want to say hello and thank you. Yes, MattyB is not in tonight because he's sick and tired of me. No, I'm just kidding. He's just not feeling well. So I stepped in for the man. And by the way, for those who are just joining me, I will be opening the phone lines at one point. So I did promise Matty that, and I will continue to hold my promise. But I think Vic wants to retire. Is there any inkling that maybe the BS that went on this season, maybe Nick Sirianni, maybe he helps or not helps, like pushes him a little further along? But I just think it's more or less the man wants to retire. He's older. It's time to go hang out with the grandchildren and live life before he gets too old. And I got to imagine being an NFL coach has to put a lot of mental and physical stress on somebody. You know, there are some guys who do it till their 70s and into their 80s, but maybe he doesn't want to be one of those guys. The man has done it for a very, very long time, probably as long as I've been alive at 43 years old, if not longer. Okay. So, I think there is people trying to build narratives that aren't 100% there. But with that being said, if you have to convince Vic Fangio to stay, then maybe it's time to let him just walk, especially if you had to do it last year. You know, he got his Super Bowl in 2024, and they had to keep him from leaving last year and convince him. Now, apparently, and that's the rumors that now, again, this year he needs more persuading. I don't think it's a money thing. I really don't with him. I'm sure that man has made buco bucks over the years. Steady paycheck in the NFL doesn't hurt. Trust me, you. So there is that. So I don't think it's a money thing. I think it's just I'm getting older. And I want to retire, more or less. But at the same time, you know, Vic Fangio probably beats to the sound of his own drum, and maybe Vic's just like, I'll tell you when I'm ready. I would have hoped after what we saw with the OC debacle and the longest 3 weeks of my life with hearing social media and being on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and some of the conversations, some of the things that people were just and it's, again, there's nothing wrong with having an idea or contemplate something that could be truthful, that could be causing something to happen. Like, is it Nick Sirianni? Maybe. Is it Jalen Hurts? Maybe AJ Brown's a diva, or maybe AJ Brown just didn't believe in what they were selling, or whatever the reason was. Again, they're all theories, not facts, and people treat them as facts. That's where the problem comes in. I look at both sides. I try my best to look at both sides of the yard. You know, the grass is always greener for some people. But I think with the Vic Fangio thing, this was his last hurrah, which he said it was going to be one way or the other. And he got his I want to say almost, I guess instant success. The thing that has eluded Vic Fangio. He's got a Super Bowl championship. He's been in HC. He's been DC multiple years. I mean, many people's defenses, many of the DCs out there today have been disciples of Vic Fangio. So maybe, it's time. It's time for me to just enjoy the rest of my life without having to worry about coaching guys and dealing with the press and dealing with the rigors of coaching in the NFL, especially from a DC coordinator standpoint. I would have thought it would be nice if he kind of this is my thing. I guess it would be nice if, like, listen, guys, just be prepared to replace me no matter what happens at the end of this season. Like if he said that the beginning of last season. And maybe it's on Howie and them for not being prepared, because if you had to do it last year, you would have to imagine you would have to do it again this year, right? I would imagine, like, if the rumors are true that they had to convince him to stay after winning the Super Bowl one more year, and then now it's happening again. I mean, you should have been prepared for this. So maybe it's on Howie and ownership for not, or Jeff Lurie for not being ready for a replacement, and then letting your two biggest internal prospects for taking the DC spot being interviewed, and one of them going to your divisional rival in the Dallas Cowboys. That's on them. That's their fault. I would hoped I'm sure Vic is seeing all this that's going on with the OC coordinator standpoint. I would have hoped he said, hey, guys, just fair warning. There's a good chance. There's a 50-50 chance I'm not going to be here. So just be prepared for that. So maybe don't let our guys take interviews or talk to them about this. And maybe they did, or maybe he did, or maybe Vic said, you know what? I made a decision. I'm not going to do it. There's a good chance I'm not going to do it. And he just came out of nowhere. And he took time to contemplate. So, I mean, is it right? Is it wrong? No, but if he's thinking about going and there's like outside, if you want to get more money, I don't care. It ain't my money. But if that's what it is, then whatever. But if it's more contemplating life and contemplating, the rest of my, moving forward post football, NFL football, then let him go. I don't want him to go. I love Vic Fangio. I wish he could stay here for another decade. Be the new Jim Johnson. You know what I mean? Like, but we all kind of knew this coming into it, that he was late 60s. There's little chance he's going to be here for another decade. I mean, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. I don't think anybody thought after 2 years, but maybe Vic didn't think he was going to win the Super Bowl in the first season as the DC for the Philadelphia Eagles. And like I said, nobody could take away from the fact that this defense was a major factor for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And so he didn't just win a Super Bowl and get the eluding championship that he's always been, championships that always been eluding him, I should say. And he's happy, he's content, and he's ready to move on. And he gave last year another hurrah, and the way it ended maybe didn't leave a good taste in his mouth, and he's ready to, like, okay, I'm good. But the question is, does he or does he not want to? Because I haven't heard anything of concrete. I've heard quote-unquote sources that they had to convince him to stay from last year. I've heard quote-unquote sources that the Eagles might have to convince him to stay another year. Again, I would hope, like, knowing him, and we were talking about when Schefter made that kind of, like, on 97.5 said, well, we might be talking about something else too, some mystery news, which then erupted into what it's been over the last week. The conversation of a new stadium, Vic Fangio was another one, whatever. Like there's conversation. What's this secret news going to be? Well, the secret news still hasn't been told. Like, I haven't even heard from the Eagles that Vic Fangio is at least thinking about or contemplating retirement. I haven't heard anything from the Eagles saying this. And again, the people out there trying to just completely, Vic Fangio would stay here for another 10 years if it wasn't for Nick Sirianni. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. At his age, getting that coveted Super Bowl trophy, on the backs of his hard work, on the back of his hard work. I don't think so. Vic's a kind of a no nonsense kind of guy. I mean, look, no frills. You see the way he dresses. He's just a no frills guy. He's that man's man coach. Like everybody knows that we all been coached by throughout the years. Be honest with you, when I'm gonna say I've probably done it on purpose, but when I've coached, I've kind of taken his accountability standpoint, his no nonsense standpoint. I've watched a lot of film on the way like the stuff that he does in coaches, and try to bring in small tidbits of it. I mean, again, Pee Wee football is a lot different than NFL football, but same idea. And I don't know if it was purposeful, but it is. And he's the kind of coach I like. And again, I would love to see him stick around for another 5 or 10 years. But again, if the man doesn't want to do it, and it's been many decades of him doing this, why would he want to keep doing it? I get it. I get that. I get both sides of the coin on this. Like, I get both sides. Like, I'm tired. And again, maybe the BS that happened last year just made it even more easier for him to want to not be here. But I don't think it's the sole reason of him. Obviously, he was here for 1 year. He signed up in January of 2024 and won a Super Bowl last February. Not even a year ago. Almost a year ago to the date. So, it's not unheard of, or not out of the ordinary, for him to want to retire. But it does leave a lot of question marks. Like I said, after that OC coordinator debacle of trying to find, and now everybody's making up what they think about it. And by the way, I know the man's sick, but I'm going to point some things out. He says he watches the shows or whatever, but I think he hears what he wants to hear. We were talking about Mannion, the new OC for your Philadelphia Eagles. Sean Mannion, young, inexperienced. A lot of people have kind of equated him to Kevin Patullo-esque. And I get that. He's young. I mean, he's even a lot younger than him. 33 years old. I think Patullo is 47-ish. So he's even a lot younger than that. He's only coached for 2 years in the NFL. Not once as an OC. Apparently, he was the next up and coming big thing. He was a backup 9-year backup quarterback in the NFL for the Rams, Vikings, and Seahawks. He set all-time passing record at Oregon State. So, I mean, the man has played quarterback. He has, he's done it before, but he has never called plays for it. We all know Nick Sirianni can't do it. I don't think there's any argument with that. If you love Nick, if you hate Nick, or anywhere in between, you can agree he just can't call plays. Like, he's not. I'm not saying he can't contribute to the game plan of like during the week and all that stuff, but on the spot, in the moment, in the heat of it all, that's just not his forte. Knowing the right play to call. I mean, he's tried it. And that's why ultimately I think Kevin Patullo failed. And he had a very little rope, and what brought Sirianni probably some love from the Eagles organization. It's just a year off winning a Super Bowl. So it's like, all right, it's hard to fire the guy because the optics of that's got to be bad. I won you a Super Bowl, and a year later you fire me because we didn't do great. And that ultimately is one of the reasons that Nick got a little carte blanche. But I believe at this point this year, if this happens again or worse or something along these lines, it just comes to be true that Nick Sirianni is just losing the locker room more and more every time, I think he's gone. And I think, a guy like Sean Mannion can be maybe a replacement at one point for him. He's young, and if he is as up and coming as they say he could be, then why not? And of course, as I mentioned on Friday and on Sunday, especially, that they hedged their bets with Josh Grizzard. Now, he's a passing game coordinator, and he was a passing game coordinator for the Bucs, and last year he was the OC for the Bucs. Obviously, the Bucs didn't have a great year, a lot of injuries, and they moved on from him. And so, but they did bring somebody in with play calling ability, and he was one of the guys that they interviewed twice for the OC job. So technically, they hired 2 of the guys they interviewed. I'm not going to keep going over the fact that I don't care about Dable. I don't care about McDaniel because to me, they're failures, abject failures. And why they were such a hot commodity after failing abjectly is beyond me. I'd rather deal with something that had its an opportunity to be something than versus something that's failed almost all the time. I mean, at least Dable had some success when he was with the Bills, but he's also worked with Josh Allen. I mean, take that for what it's worth. McDaniel, I don't even know what the hell he did right in his career at all. I really don't. Joe Hal, how are you doing, my friend? As I mentioned earlier, in about 5 to 10 minutes, I will be opening up the phone lines, Joe Hal, so hopefully I get to hear from you. You don't have to have your camera on. We'll just do the audio, so that's up to you. And any other listeners out there who want to chime in, bring in their points of this conversation, I'm giving Sean Mannion a chance. Same thing I said about Kevin Petula. For those who just said, well, it's the same thing. Okay, well, for the same reason, I am doing the same thing with Sean Mannion as I am doing with Kevin Petula. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see what he had. This is exactly, if you go back to the tapes from last year, when I was on shows, when I talked to Matty and I said to him, I don't know what to think about Kevin Petula. They came off a Super Bowl win. They hired from within real quickly. A lot of the OC coordinators were probably, swooped up and they didn't know, what to do at that point. And maybe a little hubris from winning the Super Bowl. Like, no, but just let Petullo get his chance. He'll figure it out. Jalen's really that good, and the offense is super powerful. How hard can the job be when you're that good? Well, I guess he found out the hard way. And also, just it's, and I get, coming here can be very dangerous from a job standpoint because if you don't have some success quickly, you're going to not be here very long, and it shows that, and that's from the Eagles organization. That is the stance they took. Now you take a look at Pittsburgh, who keeps their HCs around for a decade at a time. That's it. Oh wait, Joe Hall, hold on one second. Breaking news: Eagles defensive coordinator just announced he's coming back for the coming season. Is this truthful? Like, did he just announce that he's coming back? Because I'm gonna have to bring up Twitter to see this or something. Not that that's the end all be all, but like, where is this announcement, Joe Hall? That's really what I need to see. Where are the Eagles or whatever? I'm trying to see Vic Fangio. Did they announce it? That's kind of what I want to see. Oh, here we go. News 3 hours ago. It just says Eagles are set to Eagles Vic Fangio set to return. Here we go. Yeah, I wish the Eagles would just put something. It just says he isn't expected to retire. Isn't expected to retire as of a few hours ago. That he did think about retirement, but he's going to come back. It smells like that, but again, until I see something, I'm going to go by that. Oh, John Clark is reporting it. All right, let's see. Let's see what John Clark is saying. He's usually what he reports tends to come true. I don't see anything tweeted out from him recently. Or about Vic Fangio, at least I should say recently. If you have a link to that, let me know. I would like to just look through it. But again, I kind of figured just the way everything went down, and now it's February, he would probably be back for at least one more year. But this, I thought, to be honest, and I think Matty said I said it, but I thought that maybe the announcement would be him saying, "This is my last year." Or I actually said I thought Lane Johnson might come out. Hey guys, this is my swan song, win, lose, or draw with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm retiring after this. My body is not going to be able to keep up with the rigors of playing my position. I don't know. I thought that might be the news that we would hear of, but turned out to be the Vic Fangio news. But I said I'm still trying to see anything on John Clark. where he says this directly. I would like to see it. And you know what? I want to start talking about now the off season of the Eagles, of the draft, of the free agency and all that stuff. Um, it's now we're looking forward towards the future. So let's do this. Let's talk. We'll talk a little bit more. When I open the phone lines, we'll talk a little bit more Eagles. But I want to bring on talk about the Paul George situation with the 76ers, the suspension, 25 games, violating the NBA's anti-drug policy for a quote-unquote improper medication used for mental health. And he'll be eligible to return on March 25th against the Bulls. I don't know what the improper medication is. I've heard inklings. I've even heard guys in the chats here talk about, what it was. I don't know, but I don't get it. You know what you're not supposed to do. You know what you're not supposed to do. And you can call a line if you're not even sure about it. There's a million ways you can get away with it. It's just a very odd situation. And listen, if he has mental health issues, which I had to imagine, man, I think sometimes people forget they are human beings. Well, I get paid a lot of money. Well, you could pay me $1 billion, but I can flap my arms as hard as I can. I still won't fly. So there is a problem. There is a mental health issue. There's a human nature with it. But what's the improper medication? What was it that did it? But it was dumb. It really was dumb. And now he gets to sit out for most of the rest of the season. I mean, the Sixers move forward. They save a couple bucks. Maybe Josh Harris is going to need a little bit after what's going to come down with him. I'm not getting on touch on that situation, but you know what I'm talking about. Let's talk about the Joel Embiid situation. Now, after the news of Paul George suspension, the night the Sixers played the Orioles, celebrating the 2001 76ers, which I'm going to talk about that too a little bit. He went and scored 40 burger that night. 124 to 114 victory over the Pelicans. It's amazing. So he was notably not selected as a reserve for the 2026 NBA All-Star game. And Tyrese, of course, is starting and being the only Sixer to make the All-Star. Did people really think that Joel deserved to be on the All-Star team, even as a reserve? Because I don't. He's had a little bit of a resurgence, but he hasn't played a lot. And I don't see how people who played most of the games, played at high levels, that he deserved it over them. I know Joel is at his peak, can be a generational player. That's without a doubt. When he's not injured, he could be a generational player. But I don't think it's a snub. Do you guys think that's a snub? Him not, being part of the NBA All-Star game in any which way? So for those who you might see into the chat, I have put the link in for the phone line, as we call it. It's a link. You click on it. Do it from your phone. If you don't want, just turn your camera off if you don't want to be on and just want to talk with me. But Joe and anybody else I'm willing to talk with, here's your opportunity. So I will wait patiently while you try to join in. But is it a snub? Is Embiid really a snub at this point in time? Did he earn anything? No, I mean, he's been playing better and good. It's been fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. But I really don't think at this, so far in this aspect, I consider it a snub. I really don't. I just don't consider this a snub at all. Now, trade rumors continue to swirl about the Giannis Antetokounmpo, or the Greek Freak, as we'll call him, because it's a lot easier to say. And I think we do have one of our guys here, so I'm going to bring him in. I believe this is Joe. So let me bring him on phone line here. Yo, Joe, what's up, buddy?
How are you?
Uh, Great. It's Monday afternoon or Monday evening. 6 feet above ground, and we're talking Philly sports. So I don't know what more I could ask for. And Joe, you're here with me. So Joe Hal, you've seen him in the chat. Now you get to see him next to me. Joe, what do you want to talk about, bud?
I want to talk about Joel Embiid and the 76ers. Well, breaking news. James Harden is out tonight for the Clippers,
Mm-hmm.
and Steph Curry's out tomorrow. What a coincidence.
You think it's coincidence that he's coming to play here or he's playing the Sixers and Harden doesn't want to play?
Yes.
Listen, the one thing about the NBA that I think if the NBA ever falters, ever falls apart, ever, whatever, which I mean, it'd be really big if that happens. But we all know that the NBA has struggled from a viewership standpoint over the last few years. It has slowly declined. That has to be the absolute number one. I mean, what a crapshoot. They want you to spend a bunch of money to go to a game to watch players. You go there. Listen, when the Sixers stank, when they were literally tanking, the only reason people went to the game is, well, two reasons. A, tickets were cheaper at that moment in time.
To see the
But
bum
what was that?
to see the bum Ben Simmons also.
Yeah, more or to see the coming guys, like if LeBron was coming here or James Harden was coming here or one of the big names in the NBA, because people want to come see those teams play, even if your team stinks. Like that's why if you're buying tickets for a stinky team, you're going to look at the schedule and like, well, oh, they're playing the Lakers. At least LeBron will be here. It'll be fun to watch. Okay, cool. I'll go to that game. Then you spend the money, and then you go park, and then you go buy food. And Joe, how you get there and you find out LeBron's not playing.
So good thing you mentioned LeBron. There's a rumor that he wants out of LA.
Been hearing that rumor almost every year.
Would you do it if you're the Sixers? But here's what would you give up? Well, I heard everybody talking about Giannis. You're not going to get him because I don't want to give up the rookie of the year. Yes, VJ's the rookie of the year in our hearts.
Okay, I can get along with that, but keep going.
To give up Giannis, they're already talking about Paul George and picks.
Paul George and picks. What picks? Because here's my question on that, because I'll tell you why before you go further. The one thing that listen, Daryl Morey was not my best friend in any which way. I have lambasted him as many times as
I don't like him.
Anybody else. But the one thing, if I have to give the man credit for, is that he has drafted well. So go ahead. What picks do you think they would have to give up? And this is for Giannis, you said, right?
Yes, it would be the top 10 projected pick.
Okay. You want that big. That's gonna be a tough swallow. And here's my problem. This is for Giannis, you said?
Yes.
All right. So it's the only person you're losing is Paul George and then a bunch of picks, right?
Yep.
Picks be damned for a second. Say I'm okay with that. We'll just slide over with that for a second. Paul George, I don't care. Maybe Paul George being suspended is useful for a team like them because they're not doing that well, and he'll be healthy for the playoffs, and they save a couple bucks because they won't have to take on his money until he returns. So maybe that makes him a sexy draw for the Bucks as they're trying to unload Giannis. Now, my ultimate problem with this is, how does Giannis and Embiid share the court?
You put him at power forward.
I think that's just easier said than done. How much have we been asking for Joel Embiid to play a true center position?
A lot.
Do you think Giannis isn't? He's a head case as much. I mean, he's a superstar head case as much as Embiid is, if not more. We've seen it firsthand. I always remember that ladder situation.
Yes.
At the end of the game, the Sixers beat the Bucks, and he wanted to keep shooting, and they're trying to take the nets down and everything. And he took the ladder and he chucked it. The guy, listen, he's a major superstar. He's in all the Sprite commercials that you could imagine. So my thing with that is why, why do you think he would be willing to go, sure, I'll come, I'll play a power forward for you guys? Because I don't think that's it. Remember, there's only one ball to go around. I wouldn't mind if defensively he can add more that way, because that's what the Sixers need. Because when Embiid's not on the court, when Al Horford was, I was I stake claim, and at the same time I unstaked my claim to this. When Al Horford, I was the first one to say they should go get Al Horford, and they went and got Al Horford. He turned out to be a complete bum while he was here, but it seemed like a good idea on paper. When Al Horford came, we thought, somebody said, the reason I wanted Al Horford is pair him with Embiid. He gives Embiid the spells that he needs, and if he has to share the court, he could be a good power forward in the sense of, add a little defense under the basket. That never happened.
Right.
I just don't see. I would rather see them trade Embiid for Giannis, which I don't think will happen because nobody wants to take on Embiid's arbitrage of a contract. Personally,
Or I could see the Sixers going after smaller moves too. I'm going to give you one. Bobby Portis is out there.
Okay.
He's a bench, and Drew Holiday could be a Sixer. I'm okay with Drew Holiday coming back.
I wouldn't hate it. You wouldn't see me losing my mind or anything. My key thing is the Sixers defense is the biggest problem, right? When Embiid's not on the court, they get scored upon like crazy. The thing that's kept them in it is that they are now scoring more often. Once McCain got his shot back a little bit, as you mentioned, VJ Edgecombe has been dropping buckets. Tyrese Maxey hitting 35 plus points a game, just like it's nothing. The emergence of the Tyrese Maxey, as I refer to him as. That's not been the issue. The issue is the defense. And if Joel gets hurt, or if Joel is on his day off, it becomes a crapshoot in the win-loss category. So that means what happens when the actual playoffs start.
You have to.
I want to see a center. I want to see defense. That's why 3-and-D maybe, but I want to see a center take over at this point. I agree with one thing I can agree with you on, Joe, is that I don't think you're going to be a big move. I think this whole Giannis thing is a smokescreen. I think if anything, Giannis is using it to get himself out of there, maybe get other teams interested, try to drive up the need and the want of the Greek freak. It always seems like Philly's in the conversation with things, even if it seems. I mean, Philadelphia, and I talked about this earlier before the show started. I don't know if you were listening at that point, but Philadelphia always seems to be in the mix of stuff because in national media and other medias that are not Philadelphia, because of they know if you mentioned Philly, like I think of if the GMs know they mentioned Philly, if the media members know they mentioned Philly, if all these guys that they mentioned Philly, it's going to drive news. The news is, this guy's connected. Every free agent for the Major League Baseball has been connected to the Phillies. Yet none of them have come to fruition.
So would you do a 4-team deal? Say like the Sixers get the back end of a player.
Literally just the back end. We're just gonna get the ass of the player. Like give me a type of player. It doesn't have to be a player. Like, are you saying like a guy who's on the back end of his contract?
Yes.
Like a guy that more of a bench role player,
or Dalton Connect from the Lakers type guy.
Okay, I see. That's probably more realistic, Joe. I'll be honest with you. That is probably the more realistic situation. Maybe not 4-team trade or whatever, but a more bench guy. Remember, with the suspension of Paul George, they're still $1.5 million over the luxury tax. They're probably going to cut somebody to get themselves underneath. That's why the Giannis thing just makes zero sense to me. So I think the Sixers either stand pat or they make very small moves or unload some guys that they're not using. That's about it.
Out Thursday at 3:00.
Thursday at 3:00. Listen, man, there's a lot going on right now. I mean, between now the Vic Fangio stuff. Now, you're the one who mentioned that John Clark was saying
Yes.
that he is guaranteed coming back. Where did you see? Was that Twitter, Facebook?
He was on 94 this morning
Oh,
calling
he
it.
was on. He called into WIP and he said it on WIP. Yet WIP all this morning talked about him
Because
not wanting to be
John,
here.
John Ritchie was talking about it also.
Okay. All right. Well, at this point in time, this news, like this is the one time that, I mean, unless Adam Schefter comes out or the Eagles themselves come out, I'm going to wait until then because, and again, let me, since we're talking, I'll give you a few more moments if you don't have to run. Vic Fangio, what was your thoughts behind the Vic Fangio? Like, does he want to leave because he's just getting older and wants to retire? Or do you think there's more to the story that people are putting out there?
Getting old and wants to retire because he's from PA.
He is from PA. We all know he's a big Phillies fan, and I see that's where I'm going with it. The make the narrative that it's there's so much turmoil in the Eagles facility or locker room or whatever you want to say that he doesn't want to be there. First part, Vic Fangio is he's not a newbie to causing disruptions in the locker room, right?
Right.
Hence why the Dolphins players didn't want to work with him when he was in Miami. You know what I mean? When he was a coach in Denver, he was known for like tossing tables and stuff like that. So I don't think that's the problem. Now, if maybe there is some turmoil, I'm not saying there's not, but maybe if there is a little turmoil and he's on the edge, maybe that's just like, all right, you know what? I'll be 68 years old. I don't want to deal with this no more. I got my Super Bowl. And I think that's what happened. I really do. I think he got his Super Bowl. He got that instant gratification, that quick success the year he became the DC for the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, I don't think anybody's going to disagree, Joe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody disagrees that that defense was a major reason of the success of the entire year all the way through and including the Super Bowl.
That
wasn't just a Super Bowl win, but that was like his Super Bowl win.
Yes.
If you want to put it there. So he got what he wanted. They had to convince him, apparently, according to reports, convince him to stay last year, and then they have to convince him to stay this year. But I think what should happen is if he does stay, which it smells like it's leaning to, it would be nice if he just says, "This is my last year, no matter what." Just tell everybody.
Try to get they had a good defensive backs coach that I wanted him to be the next defensive coordinator, but the Cowboys stole.
Oh, yes. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, that was the thing that kind of like, I'm wondering, Joe, and this is kind of this is me thinking. There's no fact here. I'm wondering if the conversation was had and already convinced him to stay, like way before we're even talking about it. And the news broke out that Vic Fangio was contemplating leaving. And they, that came out and he already said, I'm going to stay before we even knew about it. But somebody took it and ran with it and sold it to the major media markets and Schefter, obviously. Yeah. And then that was it. And then maybe they were going to announce that, I decided to stay and I will stay at least this next year and we'll go from there. I have a feeling that this is his last year, no matter what, at this point. And listen, when he came here, I figured 3 years, maybe upwards of 5 at most. But at his age, I mean, again, the man's been doing it for decades upon decades. I can't imagine him, like, he's got to want to, like, retire and be with the grandkids and enjoy life before this. I mean, listen, I coach just peewee, like, and it can suck the life out of me sometimes. I couldn't imagine doing it for a living for the NFL and for the city of Philadelphia, what it has to do to you physically and mentally.
Okay.
Anything else, Joe, before I let you go?
Nope.
Joe, it's a pleasure as always. And like I told you, I will be opening up the phone lines on the Friday night shows coming soon. And I told Matty, it's because of guys like you. I'm really being very honest because you guys, I can trust you. And I never got a chance to tell my story. And I will tell the story tonight. I promise. I know I promised.
You have to do Ricky. Ricky's awesome.
I actually did have Ricky. I was on a show with Matt like months ago.
Yes.
And Ricky joined in when I was on with him. So it was like kind of a 3-way call, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
All right. But Joe, I appreciate you, bud. Stay safe, Stay warm as best as you can in this cold, miserable times. And other than that, go Birds. Let's
Go
hope to ring the
Birds.
bell. By the time Friday comes around, we're going to be that much closer to pitchers and catchers and so much more. I know you're a big Phillies fan as well.
I'm
So I'll
actually
be talking to you then,
going
buddy.
Wednesday.
What was that?
I'm actually going to see the truck leave Wednesday morning.
Are you going to go down and see the truck?
Yeah.
Dude, I used to do that all the time as a kid, man. I loved doing that. Baseball's a thing for me, man. I
Or
love football and baseball, man. I can't get enough of it.
is doing a meet and greet right where they pull out. So
Oh, really?
yes.
Oh, that's cool. Take some pictures, send them to us. I'll post them up for you, all right?
Yes.
All right, bud. Take it easy. I'll see you later.
Yep.
See you. It's the great Joe Hale, everybody. I will leave the link in the chat for a while if anybody else wants to join. A little bit longer here, not too much longer, but a little bit longer. So as I was talking, we talked about Vic Fangio. We talked about Joel Embiid, how I think it's not really a snub. You know, I think that feels more like a snub to Philly itself than actual reality. To be honest with you, it's just my feelings on it. I think the Giannis thing just does not happen. I think on the radar, the Sixers are on the radar for Giannis. I don't see it happening. I can't, and I don't want it to happen, to be honest with you. I made the joke on Sunday with Mike. I said, again, and as I talked to Joe, I said that, I'm not a big Daryl Morey fan. I had a lot of criticism with his tenure here. The one thing I can't really criticize has been his drafting of players. He did really well with that, and people he's been hitting success with. But at the same time, he is also well known for trying to make some big splashy play for guys that are either past their prime or just don't fit here or whatever it is. And I can see Giannis being that guy. I can see like people holding him back. It's kind of like lassoed, like cattle, trying to pull him back. A bucking bronco of sorts, trying to hold his butt back and say, no, you're not making that call, Mr. Morey. No way. But time will tell. So let's talk about Phillies. I don't know what to talk about the Phillies. People feel that them not making moves for guys like Eugenio Suarez and Luis Ariz, kind of like the final nail in the coffin, or it just kind of blows any chances this team has for this 2026 season. And maybe they're right. I can't say they're wrong. But how do you feel as Phillies fans about the Phillies' chances in the 2026 season? Do you think they same like they do well during the regular season and get into the playoffs, and then it's as cold as it is outside with their bats? Do you think they don't even make it to the playoffs? Do you think they kind of fall apart? I really don't know how to feel about the Phillies this year. And am I taking the stance of just wait and see and watch it play out and enjoy the wins and don't get caught up in the losses or whatever? Like, is this a transitional year for the Phillies? As they transition away from the Nick Castellanos, they transition away and let Bohm get his last year in as a Philly and start to look towards the future of the Aiden Millers, and Crawford gets his feet wet and Andrew Painter gets his feet wet. And they look towards the youth for an injection of energy, which I wouldn't be against. But does the timetable hurt the Phillies? Does the timetable hurt Bryce Harper in the Phillies and Kyle Schwarber getting older and Trey Turner? Zach Wheeler, let's devil's advocate, comes back and he's good, as good as he always is after he's able to heal up and move forward. Is that kind of burning the time frame with them just quote unquote being content and running it back? And then we hear, the Dodgers thought they were lucky to get past the Phillies. Joe's saying he thinks the Phillies are going to be a wild card team. I think so too. That's what I think. Wild card team. It's kind of what I feel. The Mets, until I see them do something, they don't scare me. They went and got Juan Soto and didn't do much with it, but then they went and got really good players pitching as well as hitting and defense. I mean, I can't say that the Mets haven't tried anything, but the Mets are trying to buy a team, and maybe they're trying to do what the Dodgers did, buy their way to championships. Well, Dodgers made it happen, says the Mets can, and Cohen's got deep pockets. But the Mets will Met. And I'm not trying to be like a fan. That's why I'm not getting like, oh, here we go. They got Bo Bichette. We're screwed. But they have a lot of money tied up in this team. But Bo Bichette's only tied up for a couple of years, really, to be honest with you. They don't. It's $36 million a year. Don't get me wrong. It's $70 million for 2 years. That's a big chunk of money. But it's going to become a tough team. We'll see how the Braves bounce back. The Nationals, I still think they're going to be a meandering, kind of middle of the road team, and then Miami's just going to be Miami. I never see them getting better until it happens. I do not worry about Miami. They had a little success a couple of years back. We had to play them in that wild card round of the playoffs, but that was about it. Since then, it just kind of fell off again. Rumors are Nick Castellanos could be a Miami Marlin. Send him back home. Some of these teams are possibly going to get fined or get some sort of slap on the wrist of some sort because they aren't spending the money while other teams are spending buco bucks. And so they're probably somebody will be willing to take on half of the $20 million of Nick Castellanos. Florida would be great for him. There's going to be no pressure for him to be anything else but Nick Castellanos. And he's home. He gets to go home. And I think they would love him in Miami. I really liked him here too at times. But he was a little combative. He was a little set in his ways and doesn't want to do anything. And whatever occurred in Miami, whatever he said that really pushed Topper over the edge, and the Phillies as an organization, they're just done with him. And you can't bring him to spring training. And you're sitting there he's campaigning to get the hell out of here. We're campaigning to get him the hell out of here, and nobody's stepping up. I mean, he's probably going to get DFA'd at this point. I mean, who's going to want to take on $10 million unless you just want to take somebody on and you don't want to lose the chance of getting him? I don't know. And I think Bohm fits that mold too. I think Bohm gets in his feels as much as Castellanos does. Speaking of Harper, he's already in Florida. He's getting ready for Team USA Baseball. And I love the World Baseball Classic. Love, but not with my players in. I don't want to see it, man. I mean, we saw it with Trey. Nola, I already made my points about Nola. He's going to play for Team Italy. He's going to get smoked anyway. And I just, the team's aging, especially. If this was like Crawford or Miller, some young guy, Johan Rojas, whatever you want to do, him getting his time, great. Go get season, get some real competition, the World Baseball Classic. I'd be totally okay with that. That'd be fine with me. But Harper, who hasn't had really a healthy season in the last few, Schwarber's getting older. Nola needs a bounce back season big time after signing that contract. And you go play now, and then you're going to put wear and tear on yourself because it's going to come to the end of the season, and Nola's arm's noodled. Harper's cold. He's tired. I don't know, man. It doesn't help the team at all. It just doesn't. I'm here. I want to win the World Series. Isn't that the ultimate goal here? Like, I feel like we're more worried about winning a World Series than the team is. And maybe we are. Maybe as fans, it's more important to us than it is them. They get paid to get to live in life of luxury, and they get to go do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want. Maybe that's it. But I just don't love my players playing in the World Baseball Classic. I love to see them if it was like after the season ended, maybe like the warm areas in late November, early December, go somewhere warm, set it up, do 2 weeks. That gives them plenty of time to ramp down, whatever. I can't get behind it. I really can't, especially when this team has struggled to get over the hump. And we've seen this team get cold. We've seen guys' arms go flaccid. And we don't think an extra 2 weeks of competitive baseball before the season starts is not going to put wear and tear on a team or on a player. And then this team's supposed to be in spring training getting gelled and juiced up and all that stuff. And they're not. You're going to miss it. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan. Just not a big fan of it at all. And the Flyers. What can I say that we haven't said yet about the Flyers? For their struggles are bad. I mean, it's tough. Fourth straight loss in their overtime defeat against the Kings. Couturier recently stated, "quote He said needs to be better as a team that has lost 11 of their last 13." And it's been said on this network, and I agree with MattyB. The rebuild has been a retool, and they needed to rebuild. I was hoping. I mean, I just never understood when you're tearing it down what you're going to do, keeping a Couturier around, you're keeping connecting around when you could sell them. I know a lot of people have been upset about the Mitchkov situation, which they should be. I mean, and maybe this is where there is smoke, maybe there's fire. That the Cutter Gauthier situation, maybe it wasn't Cutter. Maybe Cutter was a smart one to get out. Or maybe he was just a douche and he saw the writing on the wall and and he just didn't care and got his way out. Either way, there's a reason behind it. And, maybe it was torts or maybe the coaching or maybe there was the management. I don't know. We'll find out for some 30 to 30 when Cutter's far retired. But until then, we'll have to wait. But the Mitchkov thing, I don't know. Did they rush him in here? Did he not have time to allocate himself to Philadelphia, to United States of America? He came from Russia, which maybe it's a mental thing with him. Maybe not so much homesickness, but just maybe he just feels displaced, and it mentally took a toll on him, and that's why he didn't really stay in shape or didn't really do too much workouts in the off season because he just felt like he was displaced and doesn't know where to be. And I wonder if there's just that mental aspect of it. That's why when people go, "Oh, should we sell him now and get rid of him? Why he's worth something?" No, I think if you can talk with him and get him situated for next season, but I want to see Flyers hockey, playoff hockey. I need to see Flyers playoff hockey, but they don't have a goalie. Their defense is questionable, and their drafting hasn't really panned out too much just yet, even with Mitchkov. But it sucks because they kind of started, and if you're not in the top 3 in the Metro, then you're not making it. The Atlantic Division is just stacked. So if you're not the top 3 and the way they're losing, I'd be surprised if they can make top 3. I think there's 7 spots out of the top 3. I think something like that I heard. So it's not impossible, but they would have to go on some sort of tear. Now, the Olympic break couldn't come any faster in my eyes for this team. They just need to clear their brains, separate from the team for a couple days. And I know some guys are going to go play for their countries and stuff like that. Maybe that home cooking will do them good. I don't know. But with that being said, is this the direction of this team is starting to look. We were being very patient, almost process-esque patient. Let it happen, but I now I'm getting impatient. I'm not sitting there saying I need to be in the cup contendership today, but I just don't see any change in their trajectory. They're just kind of meandering at this point. I don't know. But guys, that's going to about do it tonight. I hope you enjoyed this impromptu final word without MattyB, with Big Al. Hopefully Matty's feeling better. He will be back tomorrow for as far as I know. Everything should be good to go. Return tomorrow to the airways to sow sunshine throughout the Philadelphia airwaves, because that's what he does. But thanks for him to let me sit in on his seat tonight. Enjoyed talking to Joe. Thank you for joining me on the chat as well as on the line. It was a pleasure talking to you. I will see you next time. I'll see you guys on Friday. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me on Twitter at Big Al Sports with a Z, and I will talk with you. You want to tweet at me, whatever you want to do. I try to be as active as humanly possible. If you tweet at me or like you put me into something, you tag me in it, I'll be able to see it a little better. So with that being said, everybody have a great night. Matty, get some soup in you, buddy. And I will talk to you guys all Friday night. Have a great night. Take it easy and go Birds, go Phils, go Flyers, go Sixers. I know they play it. They're just starting now. So the Sixers are starting now. Go enjoy the game. And I'll see you all next time.